All right, that's far enough. The words came sharply from Judith, a white woman in her late 30s, standing across the room. She snapped the moment Bernard, a black man in his early 40s, took a few steps forward, still smiling as he watched the watch children play. To her, his presence near the group of white children was enough to raise suspicion. Before we dive into the story, let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love seeing how far these stories reach. It all started inside a playhouse. Bernard, muscular, covered in tattoos, was standing quietly. He folded his arms and smiled gently as he watched the kids play. His eyes were locked on one little girl in particular, his daughter, Ashley. She was white, full of energy, laughing as she played with the others. But across the room, Judith spotted him. She didn't see a loving father. She didn't notice the joy in his face. All she saw was a black man in a space full of white children, and she couldn't shake her disgust. She turned to another white mother beside her and asked, "Excuse me, do you happen to know who that man is?" The woman glanced toward Bernard and said, "No, I don't. I've never seen him around here before." Judith replied, "Okay," but kept her eyes glued to him, watching, waiting. She turned back to her daughter and called out, "Amelia, sweetheart, why don't you go try the slide? You can take your new friend with you." "Okay, Mom," Amelia responded and ran off with Ashley. Bernard took a few steps forward, still smiling as he watched his daughter having fun. And that's when Judith stood up and snapped, "All right, that's far enough." He stopped, confused. "Excuse me?" She stared him down. "I'm not sure what you're trying to do here, but this isn't the time or the place. I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I tell." She pointed at the security guard near the door. He kept calm, his voice steady. "I'm only here because of my daughter, Ashley." He pointed toward the little white girl playing on the slide. She chuckled. "Right," she said sarcastically, then added, "You need to leave. If you refuse, I'll have security take you out. So, what's your decision?" But Bernard didn't flinch. "Feel free to tell security. I'll be right here. I'm serious. I really will." But he ignored her. She turned toward security and said, "Fine, have it your way. I tried to warn you. Have you ever been profiled or judged simply for being somewhere you belonged? What would you do if this were you? If you believe it's time we stop judging parents by appearances and start seeing their love for what it is, then like this video and subscribe to Story Arc for more stories that challenge assumptions and spark real conversations." Judith walked straight to the security guard stationed by the door. Her voice was urgent but controlled. "There's a man over there, and he's been watching the girls." The guard didn't react with alarm. He looked over calmly and began walking with her toward the man. As they approached, the guard stopped a short distance away and said respectfully, "Excuse me, sir. Can you explain why you're here?" Bernard looked at him and answered plainly, "I already told her. I'm here because—" But before he could finish, a small voice cut in. Ashley ran toward him from the slide, full of energy and excitement. "Daddy, come with me. Let's go down the slide together." He crouched slightly to meet her gaze with a warm smile. "I can't, baby. I'm too big for that slide." He chuckled gently and added, "You go ahead. I'll be right here watching you." The scene unfolded clearly, just a normal, loving exchange between a father and his daughter. Have you ever been wrongly accused simply because you didn't look like what they expected? The guard stood silently for a moment, now fully understanding the situation. Then Bernard turned and said, "See, that's my daughter, Ashley." The security guard gave a small nod and said, "Sorry for the misunderstanding. Enjoy yourselves." And with that, he turned and walked away. Judith stood still, her posture tight. Bernard looked her directly in the eye and said, "I hope you're satisfied. Maybe next time, try getting to know someone before jumping to conclusions." He turned his attention back to Ashley, who was already climbing back up the ladder of the slide. But Judith wasn't finished. "I still don't get it. Did you adopt her or something?" He turned back toward her and replied firmly, "That's really none of your concern. Have a great day." Still, she didn't stop. "That's unfortunate." He paused. "What did you say?" She met his gaze without hesitation. "I said it's unfortunate. Ashley likely would have had a better life if she'd been adopted by her own people." "What would you do if someone said that in front of your child?" He kept his composure. "Oh, really? And what makes you think that?" She replied, "Well, for starters, she'd have both a mom and a dad, not be raised in a fractured household." He raised a brow. And how exactly do you know she doesn't? Just take a look around. What do you see? Mothers with their kids. If Ashley had a mom, she would be here with her today. Unless, of course, she's the one working and you're just sitting around freeloading. He stood silent for a moment. Then, in genuine surprise, he said, Wow. If you believe no parent should have to defend their love for their child simply because of how they look, then like this video and subscribe to Story Arc for more powerful stories that speak truth. Judith looked Bernard up and down. Then, as if his tattoos confirmed her bias, she said sharply, Well, I mean, with all those tattoos, who's going to hire you? Bernard kept his tone calm, but his patience was thinning. Wow, you really think you've got me all figured out, don't you? He paused, then added, How about I start asking you questions about your baby daddy? See how you like that. But Judith cut in with emphasis. Husband. And my husband is fulfilling his responsibilities just fine. In fact, he was recently appointed vice president at a major construction firm, and he's now earning a six-figure salary, so there's no need for you to be concerned about him. Just then, Amelia came skipping over. Mom, can Ashley and I go get ice cream after this? But Judith shook her head firmly. No, sweetheart. I don't think it's a good idea for you to be friends with her. The girl frowned. But I really want to. I said no. Your father's waiting for us outside. We need to leave now. Bernard, hearing this, spoke gently. You don't have to take it out on the kids. Ashley looked up at him, confused. Daddy, what's wrong? He bent down, brushing her hair gently. Nothing, baby girl. Everything's all right. I'm still taking you to get some ice cream, okay? He stood, and together, they began to walk out of the play center. Have you ever watched an innocent moment between children get destroyed by an adult's prejudice? As they stepped outside, Bernard turned to Ashley and asked with a smile, So what flavor are you getting? I saw you eyeing that caramel swirl the other day. Ashley grinned. Mint chocolate chip. Meanwhile, Judith, now outside by her car, watched them from across the parking lot. Amelia was already inside the vehicle. Judith was waiting for her husband. Then a Porsche pulled up and stopped beside them. Nicole stepped out, stylish and confident. Hey guys, how was your time at the play center? It was definitely something, Bernard replied. Judith's eyes followed the scene, and her expression shifted. She turned quickly to her daughter and said, Wait here in the car, I'll be back in a minute. She hurried toward them. Well, this explains a lot, Bernard sighed. Oh no, not again. Nicole looked at him, puzzled. Bernard, do you know her? He answered quietly. No, just ignore her. Let's go. But Judith stepped closer and asked, So you're Ashley's birth mother? Nicole replied, No, not exactly. Judith folded her arms, tilting her head with that same condescending look. All right. Well, whatever your situation is, let me offer a little advice. She gestured toward Nicole's car with a smug smile. Judging by your Porsche, you seem to be doing well. Just make sure he's with you for the right reasons. You know what I mean. That was it. Bernard's jaw tightened. The restraint in his expression was clear. All right, that's enough. His voice was calm but firm. He turned to Nicole and said gently, Sweetheart, can you wait for me in the car, please? Nicole gave a quiet nod, took Ashley's hand, and the two of them walked off toward the Porsche. Judith didn't move. She just stood there, still watching him. Bernard faced her fully now. Listen, I usually don't let people like you get to me, but you've seriously crossed a line, especially saying something so cruel in front of my daughter. Judith lifted her chin. What, are you going to attack me? Touch me, and I'm calling the police, unless you want to end up in jail, though I'm guessing you've already been. Bernard kept his voice steady. Actually, no, I've never been to prison. And since you're clearly dying to know, earlier you asked if I adopted Ashley. I wasn't planning on giving you an explanation. He paused. But I know you're dying to know. He exhaled slowly, then told her the truth. Ashley's been through more than most kids should ever have to face. One night, her grandfather was watching her while her parents were out. But they never made it back. Ashley lost her parents in a car crash when she was just a child. Her grandfather tried, but couldn't care for her alone, so she ended up in foster care, bounced from home to home, mistreated every time. When she came to me, I saw her pain and made the choice to adopt her and give her a real family. Judith blinked, but her tone didn't soften. If that's true, then I'm sorry she went through that, but it still doesn't change my opinion of you. You're probably using this poor woman in her Porsche. Bernard stared at her in disbelief. Are you being serious right now? That's your response after everything I just said? Have you ever opened your heart to someone only for them to throw it right back in your face? What would you do if it happened in front of your child? If you believe every child deserves to be loved for who they are, not judged by the people who raised them, then like this video and subscribe to Story Arc for more stories that break stereotypes and speak truth. Before Bernard could even respond to Judith's ridiculous claim, another voice cut in. Judith, sorry for the delay. I had a few things to finish up at the office. Her husband Leo had just walked up from the other side of the parking lot. He looked relaxed, unaware of the scene he was stepping into. Judith waved it off. It's fine. I'm heading out now. Amelia's already in the car. All right, Leo nodded, ready to leave. But Bernard's eyes narrowed. He looked closely at the man. Leo. Leo paused mid-step, turned, and his face shifted the moment he recognized him. Bernard, what are you doing here? Judith looked between them, confused. Wait, you two know each other? Leo looked stunned. Know each other? Bernard is my boss. He's the president of the construction firm I work for. Judith's entire face dropped. Hold on. How's that even possible? Bernard didn't hesitate. Well, earlier you said nobody would hire me. Good thing I don't need to be hired, since I own my own company. Her face went pale. Bernard continued, oh, and just to clarify something you said earlier, I'm not using my wife. You see that Porsche over there? He pointed casually toward Nicole's car. I bought it for her last birthday. Judith blinked, speechless. You bought her a Porsche? For her birthday? Bernard gave a small nod. Figured it was only fair, considering I drive a Rolls-Royce. Leo looked even more confused now. Okay, I'm really confused. Sir, did my wife say something to you? Bernard shook his head lightly. No worries, just a little misunderstanding. Right, Judith? She swallowed hard. Yes, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said any of that. Leo turned to her, concerned. What did you do? I hope this won't affect my job in any way. Bernard reassured him. Of course not, Leo. You've always been a solid employee. Then turning his eyes back to Judith, he added, it's your wife who could use a reminder. Never judge someone before actually getting to know them. Judith nodded sheepishly. You're right. I've learned my lesson. Bernard started walking back toward Nicole and Ashley, but just before he reached the car, Judith called out, think your daughter would still want to have ice cream with ours? Bernard turned slightly. I'm not sure. Judith added quickly, I understand you're upset with me, but let's not take it out on our girls, please. He paused, thinking for a second, then nodded. No problem. Judith sighed in relief. All right, thank you. What would you do if someone who disrespected your family suddenly wanted to play nice when the truth came out? Would you accept the apology for your child's sake? If you believe every parent deserves to be seen, heard, and respected, regardless of their skin color or story, then like this video and subscribe to Story Arc for more real stories that challenge assumptions and reveal truth.